AITA for being skeptical about my neighbor's kindness during a tough time. I've lived in my neighborhood for almost 5 years now, and for the most part, I've kept to myself. I like my privacy, and the last thing I wanted was social obligations. However, everything changed last month when I lost my job unexpectedly. You know the drill: cuts, downsizing, the whole corporate shuffling mess. After the initial shock wore off, I found myself drowning in anxiety, bills piling up, and savings dwindling. I was terrified of what would happen next. One Thursday evening, as I sat on my worn-out couch mulling over my status updates and resumes, I heard a soft knock on the door. Opening it, I was taken aback to find my neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, a sweet woman in her late 60s, holding a giant plate of cookies. "Hi, dear, I just baked these. I thought you might enjoy a treat," she chirped, her grey hair bouncing cheerily. I smiled politely, trying to mask the swirl of emotions inside. "Thanks, Mrs. Anderson. They're lovely." She continued to stand there, an expectant look in her eyes. "You've been so quiet lately. I just wanted to check in on you. How are you doing?" I hesitated, a part of me wanting to unload everything, and another part feeling prideful. "I'm all right, just busy with job applications. You know how it is." That was my standard line, but I couldn't help but notice how she studied my face, concern etching her features. From that day on, Mrs. Anderson became a frequent visitor. She would drop by with more cookies or flowers from her garden, asking how my days were going, and even offering to help with my resume. At first, I was skeptical. She was enjoying the act of being kind, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that maybe she was just lonely and looking for companionship. One evening, as I begrudgingly accepted another plate of her signature chocolate chip cookies, I noticed a tear glistening on her cheek. I asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" "Oh dear, just reminiscing about my late husband. He would have loved to know someone like you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. It dawned on me then that her visits might have been as beneficial for her as they were for me. But as time went on, my guilt grew. My pride loomed large, making me reluctant to accept her goodwill fully. The cookies felt like charity, and I didn't want to be seen as someone who needed help. One fateful day, after another chat that felt too invasive, I snapped. "Mrs. Anderson, you don't need to visit me all the time. I'm fine." The words left my mouth in a sharp rush. Her eyes filled with surprise, and for a moment, I regretted it. She nodded slowly, her expression wounded. "Of course, dear. I only wanted to help. I won't bother you again." I instantly felt remorseful, but my pride still held me back from apologizing. The next couple of weeks turned bleak, with my job situation still unresolved and my emotional state sinking. I thought about Mrs. Anderson a lot, how she probably had no one to bake for anymore after her husband passed. I couldn't shake off how I'd pushed her away when she simply wanted to share kindness. 3 weeks later, as I arrived home from yet another fruitless day of interviews, I found a small box on my doorstep. It was a care package from Mrs. Anderson. Inside were some of her cookies, a beautiful handmade card, and a note saying, "Take your time. The world is tough, but you're tougher. I'm just a neighbor, whenever you're ready." I collapsed on the steps, tears streaming down my cheeks. That simple act of kindness broke through my pride, allowing the reality of my loneliness to wash over me. I went over to her house that evening, ready to acknowledge my mistake. I knocked on the door, and when Mrs. Anderson opened it, her face lit up. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I lashed out when you were only trying to help me. I'd love for you to stay." And from that moment, our relationship transformed. We became friends, sharing our stories, laughter, and yes, cookies. I finally realized that it wasn't about needing help, it was about connection. So, AITA for being skeptical about her kindness initially? I barely thought I needed help until it found me in such a beautiful way, carrying me out of my darkness into light.